Okay.
put up to 1, and we'll just send them a letter saying thank you, but,
Okay.
we're moving forward.
Okay. Now that we got over that. So I thought a really good way to start today. Today was a day where I didn't want to speak a lot, and I don't want to speak a lot, so I'm not going to. Where I thought that it'd be good at the very beginning to put you in groups of about 6 and let you talk about what we're going to be doing in this process, between asking questions, what you want, what you need, what you think the city needs. I don't need to ask those questions. We've gotten all the commentary, right? And now we need to move towards what's going to happen as they start moving towards whatever the process is going to be to hire a superintendent, and what needs to be integrated into that process. What questions, thoughts, goals, et cetera, need to be put into that. And so I thought it'd be best just to take, since we've got this number, we'll break into 2 groups or 3 groups, and we'll do the online people as a group with Ira to just talk about it amongst yourselves. And I'll sit in on the various groups. I'm happy to do that. But I didn't see where I needed to sit and tell everybody what to do. I'd rather you do the talking and you be integrated in, and then we can take that and bring it forward. We had the hopes of potentially performing some sort of mock interview, or at least giving the pretense of that. And if we can pull that off today with the limited amount of time we have, I'll be really happy. So that is my goal for today. And then after today, the mayor was asking me that after today, we're trying to put together one public meeting and a survey to outreach to the public. Then we bring it all back, and it goes. Then that's the summary of everything that's happened, and that goes back to the advisory committee. And we've done our fair share for this process. So I'm just kind of excited about today. I was hoping we'd get a good crowd. We've got a dedicated group that has obviously stated their opinions before and cares an awful lot. So I think by simple math, let's see, what do we got? How many did we say we have? 14? Or do we have 15? Do we want to do 3 groups of 5 or two groups of like 7? 5, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'd probably be best just to keep it 2 groups is what I'm thinking. So why don't just, plus, and the people online, we're going to have Ira work with them in a breakout room and go that way. So, one group over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4, 5. We've got 3, 6 right here. We've got 5 here. So add 1 to that side, and we'll have everybody that we want. Why doesn't one group kind of go back a little bit and one group kind of go over a little bit? And remember, I didn't want to create all the questions. The goal is for you to talk about what you want. And I did bring some information. If people want to use any sort of pads or index cards or whatever to put some notes together, I got those so you could shuffle. But the mayor wants to talk to everybody for just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to report out what we talked about in the 3 groups.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to just quickly have some FaceTime. Everyone knows Mildred, I'm assuming. Mildred has been a long time vice chair of the school committee and currently is the chair of our transitional local control subcommittee. And just want to give a little bit of FaceTime as far as just so you know where we are in our process in this transition, and also communicate with you how this part of the process is going, just kind of get some feedback from you guys. And I think Mildred also, wanted to say some things as well. So first, where we are in the process. Currently, I'll let Mildred explain it.
That was a good segue. Anyways, so currently in the process, as everyone's aware, we're still looking forward, hopefully, and optimistically for July 1st for the school committee to get back local control. But with that, obviously, we are waiting to hear from the receiver, which we have bumped up the meeting from March 31st to March 24th, where he is expecting to give us, hopefully, some exit reassurances. And kind of what that means is, although we're in this phase of transition and for us to get into local control, just like anything, right? When you haven't had control of something and the other person has, they want to make sure that you're not going to screw up, right? So there are going to be some reassurances to ensure that we don't go back into receivership quickly, or that the district goes in reverse. So that we're hoping to get for March 24th, so that this way the school committee knows what those reassurances are. we're making sure, obviously, I believe one of them is going to be that the turnaround plan continues, because that's something that he was hoping to do, right? Because it was just renewed last year, the turnaround plan for 3 years. So with that being said, so that's where we are. The school committee has been looking at policies, our policy subcommittee, going through every single policy. And if you guys check on the website, there are some that have been posted that the policy subcommittee has brought up with some recommendations for changes in language. And we asked the public to provide public feedback or comments if they feel like they like it, they don't like it, what would they like added to it. So it's posted there for 2 weeks, and you just send in your comments to either Ms. Feliciano or Ms. Gabala from the school department. With that, it comes back to the school committee. So we do have some things that we're currently working on. Obviously, our finance chair, Mr. Wellahan, is signing the warrants. So that's something that we're also working and doing, as well as we're also approving some budget transfers. So it's kind of doing the job, even though at the end of the day, we still don't have the actual say-so, but we're still taking those votes. With the community advisory team, and that's what you guys are doing. So one of the things that I was talking to our mayor here about is for the next meeting, which is March 24th, I will be putting you on the agenda. I'm not gonna say I am gonna put you on the agenda. I think it's very important for the commissioner as well as for the local control subcommittee, being that it falls under the local control subcommittee, to kind of hear where we're at right now, midway, as you guys are still doing the work that you're doing. And this way, the commissioner as well is hearing from you.
Yeah, it'd be great if you guys could come to that meeting and you know, just be present and participate if you're able.
Yeah, because that's what it's about. We want to hear from the public. We want to hear about what's going on. We want to ensure that the path that we're going to be taking is always with student focused, making sure that our students are succeeding, because at the end of the day, student success is a city success. I know you
Yep.
wanted to mention.
And so as far as this group's concerned, and I'm sure you guys are aware, and I'm always happy to hear feedback, right? There were two very critical, important directives that you have, and that's one, soliciting the information necessary. You guys represented the public, but also going out to the public on the superintendent position itself. And then also number two, a superintendent evaluation. I think this is meeting number 3 or 4. How many times have you guys met already? This is meeting number 3. And then you have one more meeting together. But also, and Eric is going to get to this in some part of the agenda. I'm probably getting a little bit ahead. You'll have 2 public meetings with the community, and then there's surveying, and that's what Great Schools is helping with on the surveying component. And Eric at PVC, these folks are going to compile your 4 meetings, things that you discussed, things you're discussing in your groups, extract that information from the public, their feelings about the different categories of an evaluation of the current, of the superintendent, as well as their thoughts about what the school committee should do. You know, I think it's like whether or not we should go for a search, do a more formal search, or you know, whatever you collect in this process. And then ideally, these folks here will put all that data together, put it in a form of a report, which you guys get to present to the school committee and report back, you know, your process and what you've kind of, you know, concluded in that area, in those areas. So, is there anything else?
So with the superintendent evaluation.
You want to talk more about that? Okay.
So I just want to make sure, because one of our tasks is to do an evaluation on the current receiver, Soto, and provide that information to the receiver. But we've also, the Leadership Accountability and Measurement Subcommittee already set the timeline as to for when it comes to the superintendent evaluation, it will run from July 1st to June 30th. And that process will then start the way that of what we decided. The new one will start July 1st. So we need that feedback as well. Like what is it that we're looking for? What kind of data is it that you feel is very important for us to be looking at? And what are some of the like sections or not characteristics when it comes to, kind of like your evaluation criteria for the superintendent, because remember now it changes come July 1st. It's no longer receiver, it's superintendent. And I'm sure you're all aware that Mr. Soto will be the interim superintendent for 1 year, from July 1st to June 30th of 2026. That's it. That's why we need to know which way we're going come after.
And we did that intentionally because we didn't it's a short window between now and June 30 and the work that you're doing, so we certainly didn't want this. We don't want to rush your process is what we're saying. We want you guys to, by the time we get that report, there'll probably be even a smaller window between that time and June 30, and we don't want to rush that process either. We want to have a good, robust search process that engages the community, engages the stakeholders, and it usually can take up to 6 months before you finally conclude a result from that process. And so we don't want to shoot from the hip and rush that process. And so that's when the school board felt strongly that we can so we can ensure a smooth transition into the fiscal year that we had an interim. But with that being said, is there any, Anna? You need a microphone.
I'm looking for clarification for our next meeting. This might be for you, Eric. I'm hearing that some of our tasks are, one, to provide feedback on how the superintendent will be evaluated, what things we should be looking for to evaluate, and also planning the community meetings. Those are not things we've discussed thus far, so are they all on the agenda for our last meeting?
Yes, that's the next meeting. Thank you.
McAndrew.
Well, I guess my question is, we have the assurance, I guess, from the state that as of July 1st, it will no longer be a receiver, it will be a superintendent. Do we also have the assurance that any decisions that are made will go through our democratically elected school committee, or is the state still going to hold the cards? I mean, I feel like it's the law. This turnaround plan was a law, and they're saying it's over, but yet they're still dictating.
So what they explained to us was in the law, and this is at a local control subcommittee. And mind you, by the way, like, please go to these meetings. Like, even if you're a fly in the wall, these are we're trying to keep these conversations open and transparent as possible so folks understand. What he presented to us at the local control subcommittee was that in the law, he's allowed to put some what they're calling exit assurances or reinsurances, and so. That's actually, I guess, in the law. He may not, I know you said he will, he may not, because right now he's on a listening tour. He was supposed to meet with some union members. He met with the local control subcommittee. It was reported back from our committee to the full board. And so we said, oh, okay, well, keep us posted. If you do decide what's going on, let us know what's going on. At the 24th meeting, he's supposed to come back with the result of that feedback. And if he did identify those assurances, he would report that back to us. And, he's well in his right to do that. We'll be, I can't speak for individual members, but I can, speak for myself. We'll obviously be advocating for what we want to advocate for, but he does have the law allows him to make those decisions. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
It does. I'd like to see it because
Yeah.
my impression was that we're the first district to exit receivership, and nobody knows what that looks like. But it seems like there's some ground rules as we go.
Use the microphone.
They're creating ground rules. Sorry.
Say it again.
So my understanding was we're the only district to exit receivership. and nobody knew what that looked like.
Right.
But now on the fly, it seems that they do kind of know what it looks like, right? So I'd like to see that, where it says they have that
Yeah,
power.
we can talk about it more on this meeting so we can understand more about it. But that's what was reported to us, and you know, and we're building an airplane as we fly it. And I think the goal really is to, you know, ensure the smoothest transition possible, to make sure that the work continues and everyone's looking at through that lens. And I think everybody's looking at that, are interpreting that differently in everyone's own lens. But either way, this is process, right? Like, this is a community coming together, trying to figure things out, and getting closer to the end goal of what we're all trying to achieve, right? But I'm with you, and we're gonna keep moving forward with what we can and are able to. So March 24th, please come to that meeting. Is there any questions or comments, concerns about anything? The last thing I'll say is, you know, and you'll see me step in a few emails. Please be careful when you reply all in your emails. You know, I know I know we're all very eager, and we're very excited. And there's a lot of interpretation of information out there, and you can always reach out to me directly if things are confusing or you're hearing something, or reach out to Mildred or any member of the school committee. You know, but certainly don't want to start a conversation in electronic email, considering that you're a public body, and we don't want to violate any open meeting laws or create more confusion, for that matter too. That then you give me more work, and I got to go and explain to the people and what's going on, and which I'm happy to do always. But just be mindful when we're replying all in those emails. But as far as that is concerned, I just wanted to kind of give an opportunity to answer questions, kind of clarify some things that might be in the back of your minds. Thank you for the time that you're putting in this part of the process. I want to empower you as much as we're able to. We certainly don't want this to be a rubber stamping situation. That's not the intent at all. As far as the committee is concerned, we really hope that, and this process is only going to be as good as you make it, right? Like the input and the leadership and the level of energy that you bring to ensure that whatever is going to be concluded in this final report that PUC and Great Schools is helping with, that the school board is getting something that reflects the voices of all of you and the entire community. And it's tough because we have a very diverse community. You want to hear everybody. Realistically, it can be a challenge, but we want to do the best that we can, the best that we're able to. Frank.
This is not a shy group. Go ahead.
Hello. All right. Quick question. Does the school committee have a tool or a process to ensure that we get feedback back once you receive our feedback to how you used it? Because I think our main worry is that we want to do all this work. We want to provide you all the information we can, but a lot of the times we want to see how that information was used. And I think we get colleges in here, we get different people always doing studies and stuff, and then we get nothing back at the end saying, like, this is what really helped us to understand the process, and this is what we utilized to ensure that this process was a helpful one for us, or a useful one.
Well, I know for myself, the expectation is that we're going to be reporting back out to you as to, you know, obviously you're going to report to us. We're going to take that feedback, and then the school committee will then come with a determination of what we're going to use, what we're going to do, what have you. We may seek back out, again, guidance and assistance from the community advisory team to then come back. But this group was created with the expectation that it's like you're helping the school committee, right, with that capacity building aspect of it, because obviously the 10 committee members cannot do all the work at the same time with everything else that we may have to do. So we're reaching out to our community advisory team to help us. And we technically can't do it with too many because then it becomes a quorum. That's kind of like the problem. So even when you hold these forums, we may be there to observe, but we can never be together in one table, because if there's discussion, it could be a violation of open meeting, a law for us, you know. So we kind of spread out. But that to me is, obviously we're going to report back out. It's going to be a back and forth communication. So this way you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, and just to add, and could have either one of us done this facility, like myself, right? Could I have done these meetings in facility? But I'm elected mayor. At the end of the day, it's all politics when it comes to the mayor. So we're like, well, I could have had admin staff help you instead, but some people might feel, well, admin staff is, you got the superintendent that controls that. We're still in receivership. That's not. So we eliminated that, and so that's when we hired consultants instead to facilitate all of that in behalf, so it eliminates all of that perceived bias. But either way, you're going to know, you'll know by the result of, if the school board takes your feedback and incorporates it in then you'll know that we took it seriously and we've implemented the things that you've brought back to us, right? Just follow the process. If I don't know if there are ideas of certain tools or whatever it is you're looking for, let us know. Come to the meeting on the 24th with the local control subcommittee. We can certainly try to get close to exactly what it is that you're looking for. Yeah.
This really helped. I mean, the back and forth, I think it's what we're looking for. I think we're doing a great job bringing this group of people together, and I think there's really brilliant people here, and I think they're going to give you really good information. Yep. And the process sounds like you really want that feedback. We want to see it, and we won't be in the interview process, right? We also are talking about, maybe, is the community going to be, the community forums, maybe, is that going to happen? We didn't know, so I was like, that's something we're really hopeful for. So that's what we mean. Like, I think you said it perfectly. We just wanted that back and forth. Like, this really helped, and this is how we're going to utilize it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, in the report, it can say, we met as a group, we met with the community, and we all absolutely, for sure, really want the school board to do a search process. Okay, that was a strong recommendation. We take that recommendation. Oh, and by the way, if you do that search process, here are some of the things that we learn are, because remember, when we do that process, another consultant will be hired. It's all going to community outreach, more public meetings, more all of that. But we get to incorporate in that scope some of the things that you've already probably learned ahead of time as we get ready to engage that in that process. But that's what we mean, like, the bits and pieces of that data and information you're going to learn and report back to us, and it's going to strengthen the school board's scope and what we're trying to achieve moving forward on the evaluation, listening to that community feedback. Hey, the community feels that in communication you were mid, or you were very strong, and we appreciate it. Like, that stuff's important, that we want to hear that. If that's what you learned, we want to hear that back. So that's the responsibility you got is it's really big. It's a big component of the process, and we wanted to just come here and just take a little bit of your time just to make sure that you had that we had this face-to-face, and that you hear it directly from us, and also get some of your questions and concerns. Because a lot of times I see it all the time. I tell people the most important part of government is actually the very hardest, and that's civic engagement. It's hard to, advisory committees are only as good as people make them, and sometimes people don't feel, there's a lot of feelings and different levels of how people might have felt and whatever, but just give you some assurances of where we're trying to go or what we're thinking, so that helps validate, like, your time here, questions you want to ask, and making sure that these folks are staying on target, and the broader, what we're saying is broad in nature, and you guys are just kind of filling it in. So does that make sense? Are we okay? All right.
I've gotten some very direct feedback from all of them, and I appreciate it.
I have a question. I appreciate you guys being here and talking about what's on your mind and what the idea for the school committee is. I think that the first couple of meetings for us was a grounding moment. Like, everybody was trying to figure out what we were supposed to be doing. We had a lot of questions and good ideas and information exchange. I do feel like only having a community forum and one more meeting might feel like, because I feel like today was one of the days that we were actually, and then hearing you guys is like, oh, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Great. And we have done some work in the past meetings, but I feel like maybe adding one meeting or 2 more meetings will
might have to.
support in integrating all of the conversations into what is really needed from us for the school committee. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes great sense. And I actually thought about that. I was like, maybe I think we're going to need 1 more, maybe 2 more meetings. Or maybe not. You'll be probably surprised at what you'll be able to accomplish in the next 30, 40 minutes and the next meeting. But
I just don't want you to feel rushed into like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and bring it to the school committee. We meet June, July, we just don't meet August. I mean, I wanna make sure that when you provide, when you're gonna provide that final report of what you all talked about and the feedback that you've heard back from the community, I wanna make sure that that is the report that you are 100% backing up, because you put in the work that was needed to get that information, and you got the community's perspective and their feedback. I just don't want you to feel that you have to rush through everything. If we rush, I think that's when we start falling through the cracks. And things start falling through the cracks, and then we're missing something, we're dropping the ball on something. I want to make sure that it really comes out to how you really wanted to present it.
one of my favorite sayings is a donkey is a horse put together by a committee. But I can tell you that donkeys are beautiful creatures. And so, you know, at the end of the day, when it's perspectives coming together, trying to figure things out, I mean, that was kind of, you know, we're going to be the first coming out of receivership. So, you know, the commissioner acknowledged that it was never done before and he didn't have the answers, but he tells us, hey, you know what? We're partners though, and we're going to figure this out together. And so he made the commitment to come to every meeting and to figure it. So, and we came up with the plan together. And, you know, it isn't perfect. There's some grays. There's a little bit of bumps here and there, just like donkeys aren't perfect. But that's what it means to, that's community building right there. It's people, stakeholders coming together, figuring things out, reconciliating, and then finding that the shared, you know, the shared objectives we're trying to achieve, and then you get the outcome we're looking for. And that's public engagement. So
This is like the final thing that I want you guys to know. Holyoke will be going down in history. Number one, for the first district to ever get out of receivership, but the mere fact that we were the second to go into receivership. For us to be the first ones out, this is a hallmark. And how we perform and how we do for this district is going to be the stepping stone for all the other districts that are going to strive to get out of receivership. So we got to make sure that we outshine and that we set the bar high, because at the end of the day, not just our students, but students across the Commonwealth, it's for their success. Okay? Thank you.
all right. Thanks for letting us hijack your meetings.
Thank you.
We have a school board meeting to go to. Exciting. Good times.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you. Thank,
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Ira. Who wants to hold this?
So now we have a time dilemma on our hands, don't we? It's 5:30, which is when we're supposed to end. Knowing now that we're going to be talking about the superintendent piece some more at the next meeting, along with the community outreach plans, do you want to save the commentary that comes out of the committee for the beginning of that meeting, and we'll build off of that at the next meeting? Does that work for everybody? All right. I appreciate everybody taking the time today. I appreciate the honest opinions that I heard. We need to make sure, keep coming. That's fine. I see a hand in the back. Yes.
I have a question. So I feel like there are two survey things that we're talking about. One is like, what are we looking for in a receiver, and the other one is a superintendent evaluation.
Yes.
So these are two separate processes.
Yeah, I'm going to dig up more on the evaluation piece, because I think
That
that
was the first time I heard of that.
Yeah.
Unless I wasn't paying attention.
no, that's
Oh, okay.
We heard it one time very early in the process, but
If I could just make two short suggestions, because I know we're at time. I sent out the notes from our subcommittee or subgroup over here.
yeah.
So maybe notes from this group can
And the
also
other
be
group.
sent out or have already been sent out, and we can all just agree to read those before we come into the next
Yeah,
meeting,
no
so that
commentary back, just read them.
we can just come in having the information that we couldn't verbally share out, and then maybe next time we can split into two groups,
Yep.
and one can take that info and start drilling deeper into what the process should be for how we're going to bring in community engagement around the superintendent hiring process,
Right.
and what the questions should be, and the other group should focus on the evaluation.
That works for me.
I like that. Eric, I just wanted to say for us on Zoom, I summarized in the chat what our group spoke about. So if someone over there could take note of that or copy and paste screenshot, just so that that is a part of what the team is able to review before our next meeting.
Yes. The short answer is yes.
Some of us, I was operating under the assumption that there was automatically going to be a superintendent search, and I think some others were too, and we just learned that that's not a given. So I just want to, that I think also needs to be on the agenda as far as our community outreach plan and our discussions, because we're going to obviously have to make a suggestion on whether or not we think that should happen.
Yep. Okay. Did,
I just had a logistics suggestion or question. It's hard to be fully engaged in a conversation if we're also tasked with keeping the notes for our group, and I'm wondering if it's possible for one of the facilitators to step in, or at least record to take notes afterwards, because I know it's hard to do both, and just to sort of open that up.
understood. Yes, we can work that out. No? Oh, yeah, we can record through the system we have. Once again, thank you to everybody. I know this has been a challenging process, and I hope that we had a good, I hope you all think that, just like I do, that this was a good meeting today. Good to hear from the mayor.
Eric,